beyond the skies. You and I, we're breaking bounds on Baobab.
Hi everybody, how are you all doing? Good to see everyone. My name is Angella Nantambi, and currently I'm working with EdPlus, and my work involves working on the Baobab platform. And previously, I've worked as the coordinator for this program. So I was there when it started, and just continue to be excited to see more and more faces, more alumni be interested in this program. So happy to answer all the questions you have today, and can't wait to hear what you all have to say.
Nice.
Hi
Muthoni, please go
everyone.
next.
I hope you're keeping well. So my name is Muthoni Waigwa. And for me, I'm an alumni of this fellowship, and I produced a podcast called Tales of Strength and Resilience. And it was a very fulfilling journey doing the fellowship and producing those episodes and talking to various people across Africa and the world. I'm sure I'll talk more on it. And my 9 to 5 is NW Plus TV. We recently launched a video on demand platform that just streams only African content. Happy to answer your questions and looking forward to this conversation.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much, Muthoni. Ahmed?
Thank you, Dorothy. Hi, everyone. My name is Ahmed Lugya, and I'm happy to be here with you all. I currently work with the Royal Bank of Canada, and in terms of the alumni in residence fellowship, I was part of the 8th cohort, and happy to answer any of the questions that you guys have today.
Nice. Thank you so much. So we've definitely got a very interesting panel today. And I feel like if you've got a lot of questions, these are the perfect people to answer them. So thank you everyone for taking your time to be part of this fellowship, to be part of this Q&A session. So I'll just kick off with a simple presentation just to answer the basic questions. What is this fellowship all about? And so let's get into that. And after that, the panelists will take over. All right, so just give me a minute to share that.
Dorothy, I can help you share my screen.
All right, do you have the presentation with you? Oh no, I could actually get it for you. Sorry.
Yeah, I should have it.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Oh, I could see you here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nice. Awesome. Sorry about that. Yeah, so will you be able to move it, Angela? I think we'll move to the next slide.
Hey. Okay.
Nice. So we've already seen the panelists. I think one of the most important questions is, what is the Alumni in Residence Fellowship? I know you've heard about it. So one of the things you must know is, so the Alumni in Residence Fellowship is actually a stipend paid fellowship. Yes, it's paid. And it's where, alumni from across the different MasterCard partner networks contribute, online content that is relevant to the Baobab community. And so what do the fellows really do? For this fellowship, you are required to actually produce content and post it on Baobab, as well as share it with your social media platforms. And this is around 10 to 12 pieces. So when we talk about what is content that's relevant to the MasterCard Foundation, I feel like as young people, there's so many aspects of our lives. So something that is very important to you is also important to another person. I mean, we're talking about career transitions, we're talking about businesses and startups. So everything that is relevant to you as a young person is something that we want to hear on the platform and also see. So that is the kind of content that we want to see on the platform. Also, the other thing is you are definitely required to engage with the Baobab community. So once you post this content, a lot of people are going to comment, they're going to like. And so you're required to engage with the community and respond to their comments, respond to their messages, because there's a lot of there's so much that is in these stories, and so many people get to learn from you. So the only way you get to build communities by engaging with the Baobab community. I think also the other thing that is part of this fellowship is you planning virtual live events. I think most of you have attended some that are organized by the fellows. So I know some of these things might sound scary, but the Baobab team guides you through for the next 6 months. So the fellowship runs for 6 months.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
only can go.
someone needs to be muted. Please mute yourself so you do not, disorganize the meeting. Angela, next slide. Yeah, I think also the other thing is you get to promote and develop projects and then promote them on your social media and also Baobab. Some of these projects are the ones that are done by you. For example, Muthoni says she did a podcast, so she develops it and also implements it and promotes it on Baobab and outside Baobab. So you're allowed to use your socials. The other thing is you get to work with us. So I know sometimes it's very scary, like, oh, what am I supposed to write about? Or what am I supposed to create content? Sometimes you feel stuck or you don't feel creative enough. So that team is actually me, and the other part of the team is always there to guide you in terms of how do you create content? How do you actually grow? Because this is a space for you to also grow. If you're a writer, it's a space for you to grow. If you're a podcaster, it's a space for you to grow. And so the team invests time to help you actually nurture these skill sets. The other thing is definitely creating graphics, and one of the best uses of the graphics is to actually promote what you've done. So if you've created a blog, you need to create a graphic to promote this blog. So basically that's it in terms of the kind of content you're creating. So Angela, could you go to the next slide? Yes. So what are the requirements for you to be part of this fellowship? So one of the most important ones is you must be an alumni of the MasterCard Foundation program. So yes, you don't have to be only part of the Scholars program. There are so many aspects. There are so many partner networks like Anzisha, Yali. So if you've completed any of the MasterCard Foundation programs, you are welcome to apply. The other thing is definitely engagement on the platform, because we can only tell that you are passionate about the things that the Baobab community is passionate about if we see your engagement on the platform. So yeah, if you've been posting on the platform, if you've been sharing your things, that is also a requirement for you to be part of this. The other thing is this fellowship gets to run for 6 months. So for you to be a fellow we want to see that you actually are committed you are actually committed to completing this fellowship for the next 6 months. Also, the other thing is the ability to demonstrate creative writing and multimedia skills. So it's not just about writing alone. If you say you can write, we want to be able to see what you've written before. And that's the thing we're going to get into details. What is the kind of writing we are looking for, or what are the kind of multimedia skills we are looking for? So it's not only writing that we're looking for all the kinds of, ways, how do you engage with an audience? It doesn't have to be only writing, it could be video, it could be audio, it could be a podcast. So we are looking for all those kinds of skill sets. The other thing is, someone who is definitely flexible and responsive to feedback. It's so easy to come in and feel like you know everything, but a lot of growth is going to happen for the next 6 months. So someone who is flexible and can take in feedback and actually apply to improve their work, so that at the end of the day, from the moment you started the fellowship to the time you leave, there's a very big change. That's the kind of person we are looking for. Yeah, so Angela, can you move to the next slide? Awesome. So someone's like, oh, why should I really join this fellowship? So this is just a few of the benefits, but I feel like you're going to learn a lot more from the guests that are part of this Q&A session. So one of the most important ones is the opportunity to network and form long-term relationships. So on Baobab, as you post your content, there's a lot of people who are reading it. There are people who are learning from you, but there's also people who might be in position to connect you to opportunities related to the kind of work you're producing for us, in terms of maybe their organization needs a writer, maybe the organization might need someone who has those particular skill sets you're talking about on Baobab. So this is a chance for you to show off those, showcase those skill sets. Also network with the Baobab community, because I feel like we are a community that has a lot of talent, that has so much going on in our life. So this is your chance to, build a network and, go beyond just the people who are in your circles. Also, the other thing that is a benefit is the ability to actually build your skill sets. If you come in as a writer, we are helping you to, how do you actually tell stories? How do you engage with an audience? And if you're a podcaster, there's someone who's going to help you perfect these skills, your video production skills. So at the end of the day, we are looking for someone who is flexible, but also this is a fellowship that's going to give you a chance to make the most of your skill sets. I think also project management. For the next 6 months, we know you have a life, we know you have other things going on in your lives, but then how do you actually manage posting on the platform for the next 6 months? So those are the skill sets that you're going to learn. Definitely being responsible, because it takes a lot of commitment to be part of this fellowship. But again, you will develop those skills with us. I think the other thing is hosting events. If you've never hosted a virtual or an online event, this fellowship is going to equip you with those skills. And so I won't talk much, because I want the guests who have actually been part of this fellowship to share what they've learned and what they've taken away from being part of the fellowship. Yeah. Initially, one of the things I said is one of the requirements is to actually create graphics. So these are some of the sample graphics that they have created. And I'm sure if you've been on Baobab, you've seen them around, or you've been on Baobab's socials, you've seen these graphics before. So this is something you'll be creating. I know it's very scary, but there's someone who's going to support you and help you with creating these, so that by the end of the 6 months, you can actually create something like this for yourself. Yes. I think now we're going to go into the fellows' experiences. So Angela, you could stop sharing the screen. Thank you so much. All right. I know that was brief, but I want to invite our fellow guests, Muthoni, Angela, and Ahmed, to just, I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions. And after this you're going to have time for the Q&A session, where you guys who are part of the attendees will also ask you burning questions, because it's just not going to be us speaking, but we also want to hear what your questions are. And then maybe you're already you're in the journey of writing your application. So keep those or post them in the chat. I'll be monitoring the chat, and then we will ask them at the end of the session. So yes, thank you so much for listening to me. I've been talking a lot. It's time to hear from our panelists. Yeah, so I'll start off with Angela. And as we heard, Angela is actually she was in the pilot project that started this project. I think, Angela, one of the biggest questions I have for you is, what was the vision behind launching the Alumni in Residence program? For someone who is there, like, why is this program actually there? So can you take us through that?
Right. So thank you so much, Dorothy, for the presentation. And once again, to everyone who has made it to this point and come to this event. First of all, you guys, by attending this session, you're already scoring points on your applications. So good job to you guys. But just thinking back about the genesis of this fellowship, in 2019, there was conversation on the platform around engaging alumni. Once we graduate from our different programs through the Mastercard Foundation, either Scholars Program or the other partner programs, we go to different things. We go start looking for jobs, get married, have kids, all the life things that happen to all of us. And our interaction with the platform is very limited. And so the idea was, how do we get alumni to come back to the platform and share about all these incredible experiences they are going through? Because guess what? They are worth telling. And whatever situation, whatever experience an alumni is going through, somebody else is going through the same thing. And it would be very nice to hear from somebody that you can relate to through the Mastercard Foundation, and they're going through something similar, and you can learn from it. So the whole point was to have long form content from alumni, tell their stories and experiences of whatever it is they were going through. And interestingly, at the time when the idea came up, we thought about how would we implement this. And I started out by running it. I did a pilot, and I was basically telling my stories of my life post graduation. It was very interesting because a lot was going on, as you can imagine, moving back home. I was going through company politics. I was navigating work-life balance. There was a lot happening in my life. And the fellowship, at the time, it wasn't a fellowship, actually. It was just this storytelling project. It didn't have a name at the time. And I told stories of whatever it is I was going through, as I mentioned. And people were so amazingly welcome to the content. They enjoyed it. They read it. And decided, you know what, we're going to continue having alumni, different programs come in and share their experiences on various topics. And from then on, since 2020, we've had so many alumni come on and talk about different things: hair, money, engineering, women, podcasting. It has been a range of different things. And the onus is on you as alumni to think about creatively, what can I bring to the platform that I haven't seen before? Because this is the opportunity for you to explore those experiences and share with a bigger platform. Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Dorothy.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you so much, Angela. I think me too. So just in case you don't know, I was also in the first cohort of the fellowship. And it was Angela's experiences when she shared about her postgraduate life that inspired me to like, oh wait, I could just go on this fellowship as well and just talk about it, because I was going through a lot as well. Regarding my life post-graduation. I think that was a theme that I covered. So yeah, thank you so much. And it's interesting to get to see that what was really the behind the scenes of why this fellowship is and why it's going on right now. I want to ask Ahmed and Muthoni. I think for me, the biggest question I have for you is why did you actually want to why did you want to be part of this fellowship? What made you, apply? And can you talk us through the kind of content you created? I feel like people want to hear the why behind this whole, why were you guys part of this fellowship? Ahmed or Muthoni, any can go first.
Ladies first.
I knew you were going to say ladies first, but it's okay. So for me, I'm truly grateful. In hindsight, looking back at my experience, I'm really grateful for it all because I grew through those 6 months. So I remember applying and asking myself, why do I really want to do this, Muthoni? You're already a podcaster. I already had a podcast. My podcast is called Moments with Ndero. And I'm like, why are you adding more to your plate? For what? But then I told myself, this is an opportunity to learn because I'm always in that space of how can I learn and grow? And that was a perfect opportunity for me to engage with other people, see how I can enhance my podcasting skills, and also just to learn how to engage with the community, engage with an audience, and truly connect with them, because digitally we don't see one another. But if you are able to connect with people through stories or through short form content like captions or blogs, it's a wonderful way to build a connection across the world. So my podcast for this fellowship was titled Tales of Strength and Resilience. And I know at times I ask myself, how did I come up with that title? And for me, I have a backlog of experience in media and production. But I thought to myself, I want to tell stories and ensure that I can spotlight people across the world who are part of this alumni network. So hence the word tales. But then again, how do I showcase, the strength that people are carrying within themselves, the courage that they are holding on to as they move from one position or from one career to another, or even just graduating. So I thought, you know what, resilience is a perfect word for that. So hence Tales of Strength and Resilience. And it's interesting, I also interviewed Dorothy because, you know, listening to her life story, I was like, yes, this is an individual who will inspire another alumni across the continent to believe in themselves and to recognize that they too can achieve whatever it is that they're pursuing, so long as you're resilient and you endure every challenge and overcome it. So my why was, you know what, let's learn. And then through the 6 months, I was really hesitant with the virtual live sessions. And I know Angela, I used to tell her, I don't want to. Why? Why should people see me? But I'm so grateful that I was pushed, because with those moments of running a virtual event and moderating, I'm now confident in running events and talking to people and just ensuring that the conversation is always flowing when you're live, because there's so many dynamics that happen when you're having a live event. But I grew, and I would say this is a fellowship that will truly stretch you and build your confidence, which is something that you truly need in your journey as a career person, even as a family individual, as a sibling, as a parent, as a spouse. We all need these tools of confidence, courage, and resilience. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Muthoni. That was beautiful to hear. Ahmed, could you just go next, please?
Yeah, I believe mine started from a point when I looked at how many books I had read and how much content I was consuming, but then didn't see any progress in terms of I've developed this skill, I've improved at this. And then I also wanted something that I could control, whereby I could continue learning. I couldn't give up reading books, but I could also be able to see where the progress is. So writing became an avenue whereby I could read and then figure out how to summarize everything I've read into maybe simpler terms. And I started with Medium, I believe, towards the end of 2023. But there's a way Medium is structured whereby if you're not a member, you're only going to be reading 3 stories every month. And that doesn't give me enough feedback to see whether what I'm writing is resonating with people or not. And when the fellowship came up, I saw it as an opportunity for me to get feedback from a very large audience of people that actually resonate with my stories. And once I joined on to the fellowship, I believe that was in 2024. At first, I found it difficult to see which stories I'm going to be writing. I wanted to either write things about leadership or this, and then I didn't want to sound like someone who's been leading multinational corporations or what. So I said, okay, let me just write my story and see how much information I can glean out of that. And I said, okay, let me map it out in a way whereby I start from my childhood, when I went to primary school, when I went to secondary, university, and any of the lessons I came across in all those stages were the things I kept on sharing throughout the alumni and fellowship residence. And it didn't turn out that complex for me, because I was already writing about something I knew. I knew the challenges I went through. I knew the people I met. I knew what opportunities were placed on my table and changed my life. So those are the things I kept on sharing about, and it didn't be that challenging as I thought it would be at the start. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It's very interesting to hear you guys and, the motivation why you actually wanted to be part of this fellowship. I think for me, my story, because as also a fellow, was, I think I was going through, I don't even think I was going through a lot post-graduation, and I never had people talk about this. I feel like you don't hear this a lot. So what happens life after graduation? And so for me, this was a creative outlet for my frustrations. I feel like I had a space to talk about all the things that was stressing me and all the things I was learning along the way. It was the first time I was starting to work remotely, and I also wanted to share about that journey. So that was my why. And I want to move to one of the things that is very daunting with this application is the portfolio, right? And Muthoni and Ahmed, I just want to hear from you guys. Did you already have portfolio, right? Did you have that work to showcase, to show to put in your application? And what was that journey like, picking the right pieces to put in your application? Because it's very, very daunting. I think for me personally, I would talk from my experience. I had to create the samples. I don't think the things I was writing about were relevant to the fellowship. And so I want to hear from you, tell us that journey of actually building the portfolio that you put in your application, and what did you include? And so, the portfolio, did you already have it? If not, how did you build it? What did you include in your portfolio? So there are 3 questions. And I think the other thing is, what inspired the topic that you chose to cover? I know, Muthoni, you touched on this, so maybe you could take us through, and then Ahmed could go next.
So for me, my portfolio was my existing podcast. And at the time, I think 2023, I'm not too sure where I had reached, but I think I was over 100 episodes, I think. Yeah, I think I was at over 100. So with that, I saw it best to apply, because if they were looking for someone who has some form of experience, at least I can lean on that. But even though I had a podcast that was already existing, I needed to write an application that was in line with what they were looking for. So a podcast that can speak to the Baobab community, that can encourage them, that can teach them, that can share life stories for them to learn. So with that in mind, I thought to myself, okay, I'm already having conversations with my guests on my podcast, but then how can I switch that to having alumni as my guests and ensuring that we can continue having a conversation and continuing for them to share their stories? Because, stories are so impactful. When you share an experience, someone can learn from it, and someone doesn't feel like they're lonely on their journey. So I adjusted my application in line with that they're looking for content that speaks to the Baobab community. So for the individuals who are applying, yes, you may have a portfolio, but is it speaking to what the application is asking for, speaking to a wide network of alumni across the world? And with that, when I was shortlisted and I was asked, how will you ensure that you speak to the voice of the Baobab community, I was able to tell them that because it's a youthful community, I'll ensure that my guests are the alumni. They are individuals who are making strides in their own spaces. They don't need to have done grand things, but at least they are consistent and showing up in their day-to-day lives. So I hope I've answered your question. There was the last one. The last one was what again?
What inspired the theme or the topic you actually chose to go for? But I feel like you've also covered that in this.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Ahmed, would like to hear from you.
Yeah,
Did you already have also, and did you already have a portfolio, or your journey of actually creating the portfolio for the application?
I did. So mine was actually kind of similar to what Muthoni had, and the only difference was that the stories that I had in my portfolio were characters. So it's actually funny how certain things usually come. So I started writing towards the end of 2023, and it's the same portfolio I used during 2024. And the stories were just characters. I could come up with, let's say, a character that doesn't know how to use a certain thing, and then I begin teaching it how to use it and write something in that line. But then when the alumni in residence fellowship came up, it forced me to put aside the various characters I was trying to create and write about my personal stories, my personal journey. So I knew it would be something that so many scholars would resonate with due to the regions that we come from and the various opportunities we get to share together as scholars. So that's why I ended up focusing on only that and putting aside everything that was in my portfolio. It's something that helped me prepare for the fellowship, and I wasn't behind my application and the judges that looked through it, but maybe it contributed to that. But once I began writing on the platform, you can't see a correlation between the stories that I wrote on the platform and the portfolio I had, although it helped me prepare for that opportunity once it came in.
Nice.
It's just writing about I think it's being authentic and writing about what resonates with you. You could act like as if you're giving your 2 years or 3 years back person advice. If you could meet that person, what would you tell them to help them navigate what's coming in the next 2 to 3 months? That's what I was trying to do in my scenario.
Oh, awesome.
Mhm.
I think for me, my tip, none of you has shared this. My tip was that I didn't actually have a portfolio, so I'm surprised you guys had portfolios. I had been writing, but I don't think the things I was writing about were relevant to the Baobab community. And so for anyone who feels like I don't have a portfolio, the application ends 23rd. And so maybe every day I challenged myself to actually write a story, to create 3 stories that I submitted to Baobab through the application. And so if you don't actually have that, I feel like you can still challenge yourself. Think about the things you want to talk about and challenge yourself to write those stories, because that's what is going to show your ability to write. And so this question is going to Angela. You've been on the back end of actually seeing applications. What really makes an application stand out, right? And is there like a common mistake or a red flag you've seen in the past applications? Like when I see this one is not going through, I'm not choosing this person. So I want to hear that part from you.
That's a tough one. I would
You can
say
use an analogy.
I would say what makes a good application, AR application, and maybe just to respond to the previous question real quickly. I know, yes, some of you may not have a portfolio of a podcast you've created in the past, like Muthoni, or you don't have written stories stored somewhere for you to share. The goal of the portfolio is for us to gauge your writing skills. In this case, if you want to write a blog, we want to see, can you actually write? Because one of the requirements is you must be a good writer or some form of writer if you're interested in blogging. If you're interested in podcasting, can you actually do a podcast? Because I don't think we are going to train you how to do a podcast. We are going to just support you in creating a podcast. So the expectation is you have done this before, or you have the skill to get the job done. So thinking about your portfolio, some of you have LinkedIn profiles and you're already creating long form content there. That could be a portfolio. Just put that in a Word document and share it in a way that is readable and people can see and tell this person can write. Don't submit academic papers, because in the past we've seen that. It's a very different kind of writing. Think creatively.
Yeah.
But back to the question of what makes a good application, I would say one, authenticity. It's a big pool of alumni we are looking at. The platform currently stands at 70,000 plus members. So you can imagine the diversity of ideas, personalities, opinions that are existent in this group of people. And one thing that really makes you stand out is your authenticity in sending in your application. Don't be generic, because right now we know ChatGPT is your best friend. But when you're sending in your application, it's going to be very easy for us to tell that this application sounds like somebody else, because it's the same thing that we are seeing. Somebody used the same tool and they're sending it as an application. So be yourself in sending out this application. Number 2 is engage with the platform, because when you engage with the platform, you're able to create an application that speaks to the platform. What do I mean? So if you're able to look at some of the content that previous fellows have created, you will know a topic like entrepreneurship, a topic like a story of resilience, a topic on post-graduation drama, a topic on hair. There's been content around that. How can you present yours differently? And you can't present it in a way that somebody else has done it. Put your twist to it. So I would highly encourage you to go back to the platform, take a look at some of the content that previous fellows have created, and from there, you'll be able to determine, out of everything I see, I think something is missing here. Sports. I don't see any content on sports, and I think I have a lot to share on sports. When you send in your application and we see, oh, sports, we've not seen anybody create anything on sports. This is interesting. So give us some aha moments in your application such that you stand out, you're not like everybody else, and you're you in the process of doing that. So think creatively, and I'll echo this again. You're using ChatGPT, but be careful with it, because when you send in your application, it's going to be very clear whether you thought through it or you just dumped your question into ChatGPT and it gave you a response. And guess what? It's going to be the same with everybody else. So just a point of caution. Red flags, I would say yes. ChatGPT, now that we have it, there's no originality there. There's no authenticity. It's just like everybody else. Red flag number 2, you don't have a topic. You don't have a theme. You're just floating. And it doesn't help us to choose you, because at the end of the day, what we want to see is this person has thought through their content plan. So I want to create on sports. I'm going to use that example because I think there's no content on sports on the platform. And I think if you're here and you're into that kind of thing, it'll be nice to see. Sports is my theme. Out of that theme, I'm going to cover A, B, C, D. I'll talk about why it's important to be involved in sports. I'll tell my story of how I started getting involved in sports. I will talk about the benefits of being in sports. Whatever it is you're covering, it should be clear in your application that you're tackling a bigger theme, and under that theme are these different subtopics that you're going to cover in 6 months, because you don't want to also pick something that is too limiting, such that you're going to create content for 2 months and you're out. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah, I can't talk anymore on this particular subject. You want to pick a theme that when you think about it, you can create content for 6 months, and it's very clear for the reviewer to see, there's a lot to cover here, and people will actually learn from it. So in a nutshell, that's what I would say. But the key thing is be yourself. Just be yourself and think through everything you're sending as an application, because it will be very clear that you put in some thought into your application.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angela. Those were good gems. I hope someone has picked something. And Shalon says she's actually taking sports, so we can't wait to see your application. That was a good one. I think for Ahmed and Muthoni, one of the questions I actually have for you is, sometimes you don't feel creative enough. And you're in this place where you feel like, do the things I want to talk about, do I really have that creativity to cover them? Even our personal stories, sometimes we don't feel creative enough to think we can actually create and share a story about that. I think, what advice do you have for someone right now who is they're thinking of putting their application, or maybe they are in the woods of planning it out. They don't feel creative enough, or isn't sure their content will be good enough for the MasterCard, for the Baobab community. What advice do you have for that person? And were you guys confident in your creativity? I want to hear that first. Ahmed or Muthoni, any can go first.
I can go first this time round. I would push back on anyone yearning to be extremely creative. I believe scholars, or anyone that took their time to attend this call, has some level of creativity in them, and it's enough to help them put out stories on the Baobab platform, even once they get enrolled into their Alumni in Residence Fellowship. There's a famous author in Canada. She's called Margaret Atwood. She said, you become a writer by writing. So if you expect people to call you a writer, if you haven't written anything down, if you haven't built a portfolio, if you haven't chased opportunities like these ones, then you're dreaming. And I think in writing, you just write one right sentence, you add on a second one, you add on a third one, and before you know it, you have a paragraph of stories that you can post onto the platform. That's creativity enough. But if someone wants to get to that extreme level, there are trade-offs that come with it. And I guess someone just has to be sure in their voice, be confident in who you are, be willing to put out a couple of sentences or even paragraphs, and that would be enough for you to shine on the Alumni in Residence Fellowship in terms of being creative. The other part was whether I thought I was creative or not. I don't know. I still doubt whether I'm as creative as I would like to be, but people liked my stuff.
That's good. That's a good one. Nice. Muthoni, maybe you could look at that, someone who doesn't feel like, do you feel like you are creative enough to actually apply for this fellowship?
For me, I'll say yes. I felt I was creative enough to apply for this. But one
Nice.
of the questions that used to come up when I used to engage with now Angela and the other Baobab team, am I being vulnerable enough? Because at times it's very easy to hide behind words or hide behind, podcast production. And, there's a way we can hide ourselves through it all. So for me, one of the things that I would ask whoever is applying is be flexible enough to be vulnerable for people to truly see you. And I think creativity will always be there if you're willing to open yourself up, because you're only one person. There's not going to be another Dorothy or another Angela or another Ahmed. You're just one person, and that's your superpower. So how do you lean into that and reveal who you truly are? I know it's scary at times to reveal our true selves, and we wonder how people will receive us. But there's going to be someone out there who resonates with your story, who resonates with the podcast or with the video. But the question is, are you willing enough to show yourself? And the other thing that I would say is we're all creative. But then again, the question comes, do you believe in yourself? And I know the creative journey, we as creatives, we're always seeking external validation. And it's relevant. I mean, in the digital world, you want comments, you want people to like your posts, etc. But if you are genuinely believing in yourselves, people can see it in your story because it's authentically written. It's different from what everyone else is writing or saying. So I would say lean into who you are and just be vulnerable. You're muted.
You're muted, Dorothy.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you so much, Muthoni and Ahmed. That was really great advice. I think I'm going to move into the question, and I've actually seen someone ask it here. He's called Lionel. And that's because when you are part of the fellowship, it's a commitment for the next 6 months. And how do you balance the fellowship with other responsibilities? For example, this person says, I do have a full-time job, right? How flexible is the AIR? So I'll cover that first and then just get hints from you guys and how you are able to balance this. It's also something that requires and demands time from you. So for someone who is asking, so we need you to actually put out 2 blog posts a week. If you're writing, you're going to put out 2 blog posts a month. That means you need to plan your month ahead and see how long does it take you. So how long does it take you to actually write a blog post? And so plan your time to make sure that you put them out the time because there's a schedule that you're supposed to follow. And but I would like to ask you guys in terms of, I did struggle myself. I was struggling with getting things out, but how did you actually balance the fellowship with other responsibilities?
Yeah, I can go first. I think I'll share the hack I used on my end to make sure that I met the deadlines that were attached to the fellowship. I made my storytelling so addictive to myself. And the reason I say that is that I looked at things that people would use against me. So if someone could come and say, oh, you have big eyes, you have big ears, I made sure that I'm going to write as many stories about myself with big ears, big eyes, to the extent that if someone comes and says you have this and that, I won't be ashamed of it. So the fight of making sure that I get that fear out of me helped me churn out as many stories as I could, and then sieve through and understand that, okay, these are the ones I'm going to be posting next week. These will be going in the week after. And that kept me safe in terms of having the content to post. Then the other piece is, how do you balance that with other priorities? So the way I understand creativity is that you're not going to be creative every time you expect to be creative. So once I sit down, and I believe it might be the same thing with Muthoni, you can create as many podcasts as you can in a go, and then you schedule days when you will be posting them out. So I would sit down, write as many stories as I can, then try to see which one would follow the other, and then put them in a queue of posting them out. And that saved me the burden of being able to think of what am I going to be doing at my day job, and then when will I have time to post these stories. And of course, there's a calendar that Dorothy creates. So if you keep an eye on that, there's no way you're going to be missing out on anything that you need to be posting in a given week. I think the other thing is just purpose, being able to understand what's the goal behind this. My goal is what I shared at the start, fighting the fear of people criticizing me. So the purpose was to make sure that I push them back through stories, making sure that every time that comes up, it doesn't affect me, because I've already shared it out there. So how exactly would you interact with that?
Muted.
Tony, do you want to touch on that as well? Because I do have a couple of questions, some final ones, but do you want to touch on that as well?
Yes.
Nice.
So it's 6 months, and I know it's strenuous. We have our jobs, we have our responsibilities. But again, it comes back to, why do you want to apply for this fellowship? Because if you have the why at the forefront of your mind, you'll be able to create time for this opportunity to see yourself grow, to see yourself build a network, to see yourself enhance your skills. So for me, having a podcast, it was very important to know that I needed to have booked my guests in 2 weeks in advance, so that I'm not rushing to record them. Let's say if this is the week that a podcast needs to go live, that I'm looking for a guest this week. So by last week, I should have booked a guest, or the week before that. So it's ensuring that you plan. And like Ahmed said, if there's a day that you feel like you are very inspired, record as many podcasts as you can, or write as many blogs as you can. And for me, one of the things that helped me as well is try and book as many guests in 1 week. So let's say in 1 week, I'm able to record, let's say 4 guests, then that would help me to stagger my episodes as they come out. So plan, ensure you know your why, and 6 months flies by so quickly.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Muthoni. This other question is something I want to hear from all of you. I will go and share my experience, but I think I'll start with Angela, then Ahmed, Muthoni, then I'll go last, and then we'll go into the Q&A. And that is, for Angela, I know you've got to work with so many fellows, right? You get to see them grow through this experience. What is that, the kind of impact you've seen this fellowship has had on other fellows? And then I'll let everyone else speak. So Angela, maybe yours could be general. Also for yourself, the kind of impact it had for you. Because the biggest question is, why should I take this fellowship, right? It could be just for the money, but then what is the other kind of impact it will have on me? You know, it could be for your creative journey and career. So Angela, could you take us through? And yours could be general and yourself too.
Yeah. Let's
Right.
not disagree. The money was a good deal. Um, so have that at the back of your mind. If you want some money to pay some bills, this is a good opportunity, but you got to do the work. The impact I've seen really, and I'll probably start with mine. At the time when I created content on the platform, it was just mind blowing for me to just have this relationship with readers that I would otherwise never have if I were not creating on the platform. So that was always something I looked forward to. When I posted, I knew there were people who were going to come, and I had this community of people who were interested in the content I created. And it was like our little bubble of venting about life. And it was amazing for me to actually engage with people on the platform on that level. And the other thing that I saw was I got to reflect about my life. You know, the thing they say about journaling is good for you, writing is good for you, but you never create time for it. I had to create, guess what? And I had to create content, and it was amazing for me to sit back and think about my life as an adult, going through these things and being able to put them on paper. That process of creating is so it's so good for your mental health. And at the time, the pandemic happened when I was creating. So for me, it was an outlet and a way to actually get my thoughts and my experiences on paper. And now, as I'm growing and reflecting on my journey, I can go back to those pieces and be like, wow, what a time that was. But just moving on to the fellows themselves, I have seen such impactful experiences go through for alumni. Number one, you guys are here. Muthoni has shared how after this experience, she's been able to move on into moderation, and she had this fear of being vulnerable and putting herself out there. She hid behind the mic, and now she's forward, more forward than she was before. That is great because these are skills you're building that are going to trickle down into all jobs that you're going to do. Communication is everywhere. You're working with people, you have to communicate. And the skills you're building here are going to trickle down into all these opportunities. We've seen people get jobs after being part of these experiences. We've seen people change fields after being part of this experience. So this is, if you take it seriously, which I would urge you all to do, if you're going to come to this fellowship, apply yourself for the 6 months. And trust me, by the end of the 6 months, you're going to be a different person, either through public speaking. We've seen people who had never moderated a conversation with anyone, ever hosted a conversation with people listening to them. And they are freaked out at the beginning, but at the end of the fellowship, they are grateful, my oh my, because they have the confidence now, they have the public speaking skills. It's like, oh, I didn't know I could do that, but I got the opportunity to exercise it in an environment that was supportive and encouraging. And now I think I can do it on my own. So the impact on an individual level was amazing, but even on the alumni side, just engaging with every alumni come through the program has been amazing. Dorothy is an example. She was part of the first cohort, and now she's coordinating this entire program, and that is leadership 101. So there's a lot going on, and depending on how you apply yourself to the program, it's going to come back to you. And in so many ways, once you're connected to the platform, somehow you're always found to do more stuff. Ask Muthoni and Dorothy and Ahmed. So just in a nutshell, it's a great opportunity for you all, and you should definitely send in your application.
Awesome, Angela. Thank you so much. Muthoni, could you just share with us how this has actually benefited, impacted your creative journey and also career? And then Ahmed, you could go next.
Wow, I don't know. For me, I always say it's a gift that keeps on giving. I really applied myself during those 6 months, and I just put it away that I have this experience in media production. I just said, you know what, let me learn, let me be teachable. And I'm grateful that I did that, because I gained a confidence from especially live events that has helped me to where I am right now, where Angela can call me and say, Muthoni, could you moderate this, or could you be a panelist on this webinar? So to all the people here who want to apply, it's a great opportunity. Don't think that it's just a chance to earn some stipend. No, it's an opportunity for you to grow, to stretch yourself. And you don't know who's watching. That's what I usually tell people. You may be doing something and you're thinking there's no one watching, but actually there's someone watching, and it opens up the door for other opportunities to come your way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Muthoni. Yeah, people are always watching. That's a good thing. Yeah. Ahmed.
Yeah, mine was a bit different because the more I ventured into writing stories on the platform, is the more I lost friends because they were scared of me writing about our interactions together. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I actually enjoyed hearing the feedback that they kept on sending in. People were resonating with the stories, and it kept me pushing further in terms of what stories were coming out, and even figuring out what plots to add in them. But most importantly, I learned about myself, because sitting down to write about how my past looked like got me to a realization that the complaints I have for other people around me aren't one-sided. I also had a part to play in them. And if I understand what the pattern looks like, because I think I kept on telling this to Angela, and I believe Dorothy at some point, that you notice that there's a way, or there are things that keep you from getting opportunities at certain ages. But if you don't embrace them and understand where they come from, how to resolve them, they keep on coming back. And me writing down my stories helped me see all of those. It helped me see why, when we graduated after the East High School program, some people went to different directions. The same thing happened when we finished university. So I really had to sit down and understand what's blocking these opportunities, and how can I make sure that I become someone of impact, positive impact to the people that were around me. And I guess the success story that came out of that was that I recently started writing for the Canadian Open Data Society. So besides the money that Angela talked about, there are opportunities out there once people begin resonating with your writing.
Awesome. Oh, you guys have such great wins, and I'm so grateful to get to hear these success stories from the fellowship. I feel like this is something we need to document and see what happened along the way after you left the fellowship. So I'm glad to hear what happened for you, Ahmed, and congratulations. I'm glad to hear what happened for you, Muthoni. I think for me, one of the things that really happened for me for the fellowship that had a huge impact in my life. So the fellowship happened at a time when it was COVID, right? I didn't have work. I didn't have so much stress going on in my life. I had a lot of stress, but you don't have a lot of work, going to work. And so it was a place that allowed me to talk about my journey. At the time, then I was trying to figure out my life as a freelancer. And I did share those stories, but I don't think I was vulnerable enough. And I think it was Angela who actually was reviewing my articles. And one of the things she kept on telling me, oh, Dorothy, I don't see you in these stories. I felt like I was always sharing something, but I was missing it. I write and the way I approach writing as a person, to always be vulnerable and think about the person who is consuming my writing at the end, at the back end, like who is actually the reader. And how do they think? How do they perceive Dorothy? How do they take her? And so going through that journey, even right now, the kind of work I get to do is I might, besides running the fellowship and working with the Alumni magazine. I get to work as a copywriter. And I think it was because of that fellowship that it allowed me to be vulnerable. And so seeing those aspects of yourself that you usually ignore or you would never put out in writing, and seeing how they actually come out in the different kinds of writing you do for clients. And so you say, if someone read this, how would they feel? Sometimes we're just promoting a shirt. And at the end of the day, you want to make someone feel like, oh, what would happen to me if I wear this shirt? If I had not taken that, the fellowship to actually write stories about myself, I don't think I would have grown as a copywriter. So it was something that challenged me, but also helped me see my weaknesses as I don't even think of as a writer. You know, Ahmed says you are never a writer until you write. So that was a very good one. I don't think of as a writer, but challenging myself to actually, tie down strings of words, sentences, and making, paragraphs that people could resonate to is something that I learned through the fellowship. I had never written about myself, or I don't even think I'd ever created stories. So it was a challenge for me that ended up bearing a lot of fruits. I think, like Muthoni says, these people are always watching. And being part of the fellowship gave me the opportunity to actually create the Baobab course, freelancing in the digital economy, because then Baobab saw that I actually had something to share with the Baobab community. And so I think each one of us has something very interesting about their lives. And this is the opportunity to share it out there. You never know, we may want to turn it into a course. I think another person who had their journey and stories turned into a course was Agatha. And so there's so much opportunity out there. And so bring those unique lessons you've learned, those unique experiences you've picked along the way, and share them with the community. And that's what we are looking for. That's one of the ways you're going to put yourself out there, because sometimes if we post on our social medias, it's our friends who are only watching, or it's only our friends that get to interact with what we talk about. And sometimes it's just our immediate circles. But then Baobab gives you a platform for people who are, it's not just people who are in Uganda, if you're in Uganda. So it's a bigger community. And so these people are seeing, they're watching, they're appreciating your skills. And so if you are in, this is the place for you. And so I want to see those applications come in, and we get to see your unique skills that you are sharing with other young people. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone. We are running out of time, but there's so many questions here. I think I'll take, so Angela is in the perfect place to answer some of these. I can still answer some of these. So I'll run some of these to you, Angela. And then, but I feel like these are things we've talked about. I think looking at sync, let me share it in the group. This is the link for the application, so feel free to copy it in the chat, and then you can use it. The question that I've seen most people ask is the difference between the PR track and then the AIR fellowship. So what's special about the PR track is you actually not writing stories about yourself. The PR track is writing stories about other scholars, writing stories for Baobab. So, and then when it comes to the Alumni in Residence Fellowship, it's about you. It's your personal experiences. It's the unique journey that you are on. So if you are confused, I think that's the difference between the two. And then for the PR track, still the portfolio is your portfolio. What have you written about? We want to see those, that you share those links, because at the end of the day, if it's something that you wrote, it still shows you're a great writer. I think what's also unique about the PR track is they actually want you to write a press release about Baobab. So if you are interested in that role, I encourage you to go back and look at the application so you get out those nitty-gritties that kind of creating the difference between the two. How synthetic do you want us to be? I think the other thing was clarifying on the portfolio. So a portfolio is a show, it's more like what have you actually done before? That's a proof of your skill sets. If you tell us you are a writer, we want to see proof of that writing. And so that is what you are attaching in the application. I know it has created a lot of confusion, but we want to see the skill. If you are a podcaster, can you share with us examples of podcasts you've actually created before. If you're a video person who does video production, can you share with us samples of videos that you've created before? At the end of the day, we want this to be very personal. So the main goal of this fellowship is, at this moment, you are the teacher, right? If Ahmed was a teacher, his life journey were the lessons that he was sharing with the Baobab community. And so think about how you can turn that tiny bits or the certain aspects of your life into lessons that you're delivering to the Baobab community, but it should be from a personal, from a personal perspective. I guess that's it. Can you throw more light on the proposal? I think we've covered that. Abigail raised her hand, right? Abigail, please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, hi everyone. Thank you so
Hi.
much for this session. It's actually giving me more light on the application, but I just want to ask my question via audio because I feel it's a bit complex and when I write it, it wouldn't. So my question is on the proposal. So it wants you to give a sample plan for like 1 month posting with 2 assignments per month. So 1 month posting, meaning that will be 2 assignments that you are submitting on the proposal. However, they say it should be 1 page. And then I'm wondering, are these sample assignments supposed to be elaborate or not? Because if it's limited to 1 page, how does the 2 assignments fit?
Thank you so much, Abigail. So when we talk about the assignments, we're actually looking at the theme. So think about the theme that you want to create, right? And for that theme, can you actually pick topics that are building on top of each other, right? At the end of the day, when we talk about, for example, think about if you want to talk about your life post-graduation, right? Are you able to build onto that particular topic for, that 1 month, the next month? So we want to see a consistent flow and something that's related over and over again for the next 6 months. And so that's what we actually want to see for your proposal. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I understand that aspect. So I'm
Yes.
trying to, yes, so let's say I'm going to develop a 4-month one. So let's say I'm going to post in week 2 and week 4 of the 1 month. So week 1, like whatever assignment I want to post, like let's say writing, do I need to put a link to like a write-up?
Oh, no, it's just a summary. We don't want to be very elaborate. For example, let's say you are going to cover life post-graduation, right? Can you pick a specific thing and say just a highlight maybe of your job hunting? It doesn't have to be elaborate. It's just a few things. Yes.
Okay, I get that aspect now. Also, one last question about the portfolio. It says you should upload 3 to 5 work samples that represents like, the type of assignment you'll be submitting. So my question is, like, I know they have like various categories like blog, vlog, podcast. So let's say I am sticking to writing. I need to have like 3 separate write-ups, like 3 to 5 write-ups. Or can someone have like 2 write-ups and then 1 vlog, something like that? I don't know if you get the question.
So usually we take, initially we've only been taking, we just want you to pick the one type of content that you want to create, because then it's very confusing if you're going to alternate different kinds of content, right? So pick a particular content structure that you want to follow. If it's vlogs, good. If it's blogs, that's very good. If it's podcasts, that's very good, because then it brings structure to, oh, this fellow is doing this fellow is doing this fellow is doing this, rather than picking a cohort where all fellows are doing the same thing. Time is running out. And so if you have any more questions, I think we may not be able to answer them. No, we can't take any more people because we are out of time. But I guess I'm going to take one more question. So, Francisca, if you can unmute yourself.
Hello, thank you so much. So, you mentioned that the PR is for writing content for Baobab and for alumni. So the direction I want to take, I feel like it's contradicting itself, and I wanted clarity on that. So, although I want to write about my personal experiences, my team also has a space for me to interview alumni to get what they are also doing according to my team or in relation to the team I want to write about. So with that, which track will you advise I apply for?
So for what, just to clarify, the PR track is about, the PR track is really creating content, not just about yourself. And so if you are interested in interviewing other people and that's what you are passionate about, I encourage you to go back to apply for the PR track. And this is a question to ask yourself. Do you want to write stories about yourself or other people? And so weigh which of the two you prefer and then pick which one to apply for. Yes, so we are out of time. I guess we could answer some of these questions to me, right? Yeah, in the meantime, I want to thank all the panelists. Thank you so much for taking your time to respond to all the questions that people had. Thank you for taking time to be part of this conversation. And I can't wait to see your applications and to see who happens to be our next fellow. So yeah, I've just said my email. And also those who are interested in applying, I've also sent the application link in the group. So we can't wait to see you guys. So thank you so much and all the best in your applications. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Muthoni. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Beyond the skies, you and I, we're breaking bounds.